It is sloper time. I am wearing a close-fitting, tight-fitting t-shirt. I have on my tights and I've got my dressing gown down here because that's all I'm wearing today, so that I can take accurate measurements for the skirt sloper.
A few inches later.
Measurements taken and adjusted and added to and tweaked, so now I get to draft the sloper. Fun times.
2 hours later.
Sloper is drafted. Believe it or not, this is a blueprint of my body. So now I need to cut it out of calico, add seam allowance to that. Well, add seam allowance and then cut it out of calico, sew it all together, try it on and adjust for, fingers crossed, not too much fit issues, but there might be some. So let's get the first muslin made up.
3 hours later.
So I forgot to film the first muslin, but I have got a shot of it here, and you can see that it is ever so slightly pointy over the hips, which doesn't surprise me because I have such a large difference from waist to hip, but I can smooth that out. And also the waist was a good inch too big for my personal preference, so I'm going to tweak that and I will come back and show you what the second iteration of my first sloper muslin looks like.
A few moments later.
We are on to muslin number 2. I mean, technically it's the same muslin that I started with, but I have smoothed out these bits here by 1/8 of an inch, so 1/4 of an inch front and back, so 1/8 front, and when you multiply that over the front and back you get 1/4 of an inch. And I've also taken an inch off of the waist. I am over the moon happy with how this has come out. I think it fits really nicely. It highlights completely for me why I don't wear this type of skirt, although I don't have like these super pointy darts that I thought I was going to end up with, and I've only got one dart in, well, 2 darts at the front and 2 darts at the back, and I don't have super pointy butt darts either. So I am very pleased with this, how this has turned out. I am going to try and make the pencil skirted dress using this pattern. It's going to be longer. The class recommends that you do a 20-inch sloper. I've done a 24-inch one, and I'm going to want to add a lot more to it as well. But I think I'm going to use this for that mystery spandex polyester fabric that I showed you once I have my bodice drafted, and that's going to be tomorrow's project. But very happy with how this has come out. I am pretty over the moon with this fit from my first sloper, so that's a win.
Day 3.
I didn't film anything on day 2 because we spent the majority of it doing this. We did our front moulage calculations and drafting, and today we have done the back. So the next part of the lesson is to turn these into the pattern pieces that we cut out for the moulage. Moulage is literally a body blueprint according, and again I'm going by the Craftsy class by Suzy. Very much highly recommend. It looks like me, sort of, you know, it looks like a body anyway. So the next stage is drawing on the cut lines that we are going to then cut our fabric out with, and we trace out these pieces that we've done. We keep these as our master copy because if anything needs to change, we need to come back to these to do those changes. And there's a specific set of pieces that we cut out, and we do actually end up having to put a dart in at the front to double check that our apex points are in at the correct place. This doesn't get put into the sloper, but it's just a way of checking the moulage fits as properly as it should. So that's the next class, taking a tracing of these and turning those into our moulage pattern pieces, which we can then cut out of calico, well, then add seam allowance to, then cut out of calico, then sew up, and then troubleshoot. I'm really hoping there isn't any troubleshooting. There was some concern about the shoulders because of the way that they'd come out, but she does do a shoulder adjustment class at the end of the drafting of the moulages to make sure that they kind of like even out, and it looks a lot better now than it did, so I'm less worried. Think it's going to work. We shall see. Let's give it a try.
1 eternity later.
Well, that really didn't go according to plan. We drafted the back and we came to do the shoulder adjustment, which has massively helped with the kind of pointy shoulders that I was worried about. But Mum had made a mistake on hers, the very first measurement, so we had to rub all of that work out, go through the whole thing again and get it fitting, or getting it all right, which we've done. And then I cut all the pieces out for mine that you're meant to cut out your calico or your muslin out of, and my side front and my side back weren't matching up. they were wrong. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so I went back and looked over the measurements, and I thought I'd made a mistake on the side front and the side bag. So I decided to completely start from scratch and draft both the front and the back again. And I got all the way through the front to the point where I thought I'd gone wrong and realised I hadn't gone wrong, and so the front was perfect. And then I got through the back and realised where I'd gone wrong is I had listened to the measurement that the teacher was saying, not the measurement that I'd written down. So I've retraced the front and the back, but everything lines up and is as it should be. So we can now cut out the muslin to sew up the moulage to see if we need to make any further tweaks from there. Although it is now 6:45. It's taken a really long time, but we're getting there slowly but surely. This video, I was hoping to have a little bit more of a kind of a finish, like at least I'm still hoping that I'm going to be able to have a sloper, like a finished made up muslin sloper, to kind of show you how I'm getting on, and that's going to be the halfway point, and hopefully probably Saturday's video. Yeah, so never mind, it's a lot of maths. I mean, realistically, it's not difficult maths, it's just getting used to it and then making sure that you're writing down the correct numbers in the correct places and not getting yourself confused like I did. So yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed with myself for making the rookie error of getting it wrong in the first place and then not checking everything perfectly. So redrafting something that I really didn't need to, and then finding out that the alteration on the back was minimal. But never mind, never mind. Hopefully my moulage from these pieces will come out really well and there won't be that many tweaks that I need to make to it. Fingers crossed. But that's for tomorrow. I'm going to call it a day now.
Day 4
of the moulage process. Yes, day 4. Day 3 for the bodice. So I have got it all cut out of calico. I'm just about to mark everything up so that I don't sew two like pieces. I sew mirror images of everything. So I'm just going to mark right on them what they are, and then that way I won't sew the wrong things together. Well, that's the theory anyway. We'll actually see if that comes into practice. Then we get to try them on, which is going to be interesting. So fingers crossed there is going to be minimal tweaking needed. Fingers crossed.
1 hour later.
Okay, so apparently this is what I look like in fabric form. Now I need to try it on, get pinned into it and see if that is actually the case. Wish me luck. I've not even pinned myself into this yet. The shoulder arm side feels a little tight, but I mean, I knew this was going to happen. I knew the armhole was going to be a problem, but okay, so yeah, I knew I was going to have issues up here. I knew this was going to be a problem, but the rest of it is pretty damn perfect, if I say so myself, which I'm very impressed with. So I think the problem with the shoulders is that my shoulder point is actually here, so it's about 1 inch in. I also think that if we sew that, if I just take out that excess at the top there, I think that's the only change I need to make. I am seriously impressed. Like, seriously impressed. I was expecting to have to make many fit alterations, but this is looking like the one in the class. Yay! Okay, now we've got to try mums on. You won't get to see that, I'm afraid. But we are working through mums at the same time. I'm going to make the change to these shoulders as well. I will sew this change and come and show you it. Then you can see how it's all working from there. But I mean, it is like, it's a moulage, so it's skin tight, it's not comfortable. The armholes are not meant to be comfortable, the neckline is not meant to be comfortable, because when you draft the sloper you change all this, you kind of like add a bit more here and a bit more here and take a bit away so that it becomes something that you can then draft from. This is the point, this is the body blueprint, that you want to get this fitting perfectly so that you can then add those changes to your sloper, so you can then use your sloper to draft all the patterns that you want to going forward, knowing that it's going to fit you like a glove. Like a glove. I'm gonna have to find that Jim Carrey thing and insert that there, because
2 hours later.
Okay, I've made the tweaks to the shoulder. I did it on one side just to sort of test the theory of what I thought I needed to do and to have an original shoulder preserved in case this one didn't work out. But as you can see from the footage that I will have put in here, this is a short that I filmed and I was doing it really quickly because Mum wanted to have her tea and cake, and keto cake. Very delicious. So yeah, I am really pleased with that alteration. I have made the changes to the moulage and I've made the changes to the moulage pattern pieces. I now need to draft the sloper. So I need to trace the moulage again, but what I'm going to do is trace the finished moulage with those alterations in it, and then I'm going to use my original moulage, which has got lots of lines in the wrong place now. I'm going to use that as my starting point for tracing and drafting my sloper. I think that makes sense, but that is the next order of business to get that done. And then I think we turn that sloper into a knit sloper as well, because I kind of was watching some of the classes last night to see what next steps were going to be happening. I am genuinely thrilled with how that came out. I knew that the shoulder was going to be an issue because of the way that the draft came out. I'm genuinely blown away by how well that thing fit with just that one tweak in it. And lots of you guys were saying that I'm gonna have to do like many iterations to get to a point that I was happy with, and that one tweak is beyond amazing. So I am thoroughly enjoying the class. I will highly recommend it. As I say, I bought these years ago and I'm not sponsored by Craftsy, and you know, they're not asking me to say anything about them whatsoever. I just absolutely am loving the process and this teacher, and I'm very happy with what I'm getting out of it. So yeah, sloper next. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna make myself a couple of other basic blocks, because the sloper still has like the darts everywhere and you then swing them out to do whatever you want to. So I want to have one of those, but I know I'm going to want a 2 dart bodice, so a bust dart and a waist dart, and I also know that I'm going to want a grown on sleeve basic block to play with as well. I'm going to make those changes and I'm going to put those patterns onto the cardboard as well. I know for me and the designs that I like, they're going to be a very frequently used starting block, whilst the sloper will be something that I will use as well for ones where I'm going to put darts in different places. I just know that the 2 dart bodice and a grown on sleeve bodice is going to be something that will get used frequently. I think it makes sense to put those onto the tag or the card, the pattern making card that I've got. So I'm going to get all that done and then I'll be back and I'll show you what that looks like. I hope you're enjoying this series. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. My poor little brain very much hurts, and I'm annoyed that I don't have a Friday video for you and that it's a Saturday video, but I am really enjoying the process, so I hope you guys are too.
2,000 years later.
My antennae are back. I am very tired, but at the end of day 4 of sloper making month, I've got my bodice front and back and my skirt front and back on card, officially made up. This is the starting blocks for really exciting, hopefully, adventures. Now, I definitely felt very cocky going into this. I definitely thought that especially after the success of the skirt sloper, that the bodice sloper was going to go together really quickly. And to be fair, day 1 of the bodice sloper, we only took the measurements and drafted the front. We could have carried on, but both Mum and I had brain fog by we were about 4 hours in. Then I had Wednesday off, and then Thursday and all day Friday has gotten me to this point. I am over the moon with this, very happy, but this is only part 1. I still have my sleeve to draft, my trouser block to draft, and then the fun of experimenting. Now, I have ordered 2 lots of cotton sateen from Lady McElroy. I've ordered a pine green and a crimson, and I have also ordered some very sparkly, shiny spandex from Etsy, and I will list both of those in the description down below. I'm hoping, not like biting off more than I can chew, I'm definitely going to start with the printed fabric that I showed you in my fabric haul for my first pencil skirted dress. But you guys know that I have this dress on my list of projects that scares me. Bianca's Realtor in Tomorrowland or the one that she did the video showing how she did it all was Lawyer in Edge City from Cyberpunk. I think that's right. I watched it again this morning just to kind of refresh my brain about how it all goes together. I have bought the fabrics and that's what I'm going to be attempting to do with these slopers. I'm not going to start on those giant projects, as I say. I'm going to ease it in and start with something that is a little bit more simple just to get my eye in and see how it's all working out. I mean, after the success of the moulage, technically it should be fine. As far as the class goes, I still have my knit sloper to draft from my woven sloper, so I need to trace that off, make some adjustments, and then I'll have a knit sloper as well, which is really exciting. And as I say, still got the sleeve, still got the trousers to do, so lots of work still to do next week. But I hope you've enjoyed having a look at how I have been tackling this process along with Mum. Really sorry, but you're not going to get to see Mum's slopers because she doesn't want to be on the internet in her underwear, like I seem to have been fine with, so you won't get to see Mum's slopers. But I will show you anything that Mum does draft from those slopers, so you will see the results, but you just won't see the moulage. But I think you can understand that. But anyway, yes, I hope you've enjoyed this week of experimentation, of math that has made my brain go to liquid and start running out of my ears, and what actually I feel are two really successful moulages that have been transferred over to slopers that I can start designing from. And if you have enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this one here.